Hello, Miss
Real
Candy. Can you
quick.
hear me?
Hi, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep,
ma'am.
you are live. And you have 19 people listening to you right now. So,
Well,
how you doing?
If everybody
I'm
could
doing
touch
good.
the screen real quick and tap, tap, tap on the screen and get our live out there, that would be really helpful
Yeah,
too.
y'all killed it last night. Like TikTok grades it like categorizes A, B, C, D. And then they have like five different levels inside that, like A1 through 5, B1 through 5. And I'm always like D4, right? That's like the D5 is the lowest, right? And y'all got me to C4, C5 last night. I was
Ooh,
like
That's
blown away.
amazing. That's
thank
We
awesome.
you.
we we have some tapping fools, you know. It was awesome. I know Dixie did a lot, Valerie did a lot, so just keep tapping. I don't have the
Yeah.
10,000 viewers, so it doesn't get fed to a lot of FYP. So, but those taps and those hearts really, really help
Yeah.
get us there. We got there last night. It was amazing.
Hmm.
It was really, really cool. Um, let's give it a few more minutes and then we'll get started. Just a couple of things, as always. If you see me disappear off the side of the screen, it's because I'm doing something that TikTok doesn't approve of or may not approve of, which is simply drinking a bottle of water or nicotine. And I don't want to get booted like has happened in the past. Um, if you have questions tonight, I'm going to ask that we hold off on them. We're going to take a lot of breaks tonight to cover questions. But I think as Candy goes through her story, a lot of the questions will be answered. So, but we're definitely going to take breaks so you guys, we can get Charles questions in because we love you guys and we want, if you have questions, we want to be able to answer them. And I'm sure Candy wants to answer them too. You know, this is an incredible, Candy's my hero. Everything she's gone through.
That's the first time I've heard that.
No, you are. And as people hear you emailed me that early this afternoon, and I'm still trying to process
Hmm.
all the things that have gone through. You know, the 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 medical tragedies that have happened at the hand because of the hands of others
Hmm.
um, is intense. And I was just reading it, and I kept going on, and I'm like, I can't believe this is all happening to one person, and here you are, you're fighting. Um, you just celebrated 30 days. You didn't go to the hospital in a month, right? Which is amazing.
Yeah, for the first time in years, I've made it a little over a month now without doing one hospital admission. And that to me is a milestone. So many people think that going to the hospital is just something that you do because you have an emergency, you broke your foot, you need stitches, but it goes beyond that. And a lot of people in the chronic illness or chronic pain community, we know that those hospital visits are more frequent and we become less heard.
Yes, and the hospitals unfortunately do a good job of training us not to go to the hospital, right? And especially ERs. So yeah, I mean, send the questions, but we're going to try to stop every few minutes or so and bunch them all together, and then we'll get started back again too. So, and Candy, if you need to get up and go get something to drink or take a break or something, just say something. Okay, you're not going to offend anybody, and there's enough friends in this room we can talk while you're taking care of what you need to take care of. So, yeah, Miss Nicole, wait until almost shocked before New Year. I've been there too. So, all
I
right.
was
So,
gonna, can I say something real quick before we
yeah,
start?
please.
Can everybody, if you feel comfortable, if you could share out the live too, you can go down to the bottom right corner. There's like an arrow thing, and it'll pull up people that you frequently, follow or whatnot. That would be super helpful as well. The more people we can access and share our stories to, the better, I feel. So you
Yeah,
never know who you're going to touch with your story, and
no,
it's super important.
that is. That is. Thank you very much for throwing that in there. I totally forgot. So, all right. So, Candy. One last thing before we start. Y'all, if you aren't following Candy, write down her screen name so you can
Hmm.
go follow her now or when we're done or at some point. It's just like And man, just like all of us, better opportunities to expose it, for more people for it to randomly hit the FYP, for more people to know that the invisible community is out there, to love, support, and be there for folks. So that would help out a lot too, you know. So, Candy, back in 2016, maybe.
Yep.
You guys had at the house, you and your partner, your boyfriend had an idea to work in the garage, right?
Right. So we had planned, I was already having symptoms of just horrible pain, not feeling well. But again, like you said, we're trained not to go to the ER. So who's going to go to the ER for what I thought was the world's worst stomach ache, right? So we had planned on cleaning the garage out. It was, we planned it. It was an event. We was going to do it. But by the time that Sunday had gotten there, I was just at the point where I couldn't get out of bed. And kind of jokingly, he was like, if you're that bad, you need to go to the ER. I'm like, who does that? Well, next thing I know, my mom shows up and she takes me to the ER. There's a lot about that visit that I don't remember, just because there was a lot of medication introduced to me at that time that I wasn't used to. So what I do remember from that visit is going and getting the medication, being told that I was going to be transferred to like their big hospital, their main campus, as well as being told that I had pancreatitis, that my pancreas had some issues, and I thought it was like the appendix. I'm like, what's a pancreas? It's just one of those things that's there that hurts when it needs to come out. I didn't even know anything about the pancreas. I got transferred to the main campus. I spent 2 weeks during that hospital stay. I was diagnosed with acute pancreatitis with necrosis. The necrosis was caused by the fact that I waited too long to go. So my pancreas was dying at that point. They treated me the best that they could. It was the first time that I was NPO. I didn't know how to be NPO and begged for food. I was finally given a diet, and every time I hurt, it just ate. And I didn't realize, again, at that time, that I was just fueling the fire. When I brought it up to the charge nurse at that time that it hurt every time I ate, he was surprised that I even had a diet and still asking for pain meds. Now, at that point, I didn't know the stigma on pain meds, so I didn't really think that big of a deal of it. But looking back now, I realize, the stigma that's there, and him questioning why I was being given food and pain meds at the same time. So food's taken away. I got treated again with medication that I just wasn't used to. But once I started feeling better, I got discharged, still NPO, got sent home with the TPN. And this is really my first experience with any kind of major health issue. So I didn't really know how the NPO thing worked or why I wasn't allowed to eat. This is getting discharged days after Thanksgiving. There's leftovers in the fridge. So one of the first things I do is go to the fridge. And I eat while I'm on the TPN. And again, I'm in pain. I was sent home from acute pancreatitis with necrosis on a TPN because they knew that it was still an issue. I was sent home with no medication, nothing, just, I guess
Candy,
managing it on my own. Yes.
can you define TPN?
TPN is, it's like getting IV fluids, but it's got nutrients in it. So it is given through IV. And depending on what your needs are or what your labs are, they'll add like fat to it or other things to it. But it's basically like clear liquids to support your body while you can't eat.
So they sent you home with that, but were you able to do that, or were you didn't know any better, so you were eating the mashed potatoes?
Right. I didn't know any better. I was told that I needed to be NPO, which means nothing, no food, no fluids. I mean, nothing. That's what the TPN supports, is the fact that you can't eat, you're not allowed to drink. And again, I've never been told in my whole life. I've always been a small person, and I've never been told you're not allowed to eat. So that was shocking to me. And to this day, I will still say nobody's going to tell me when I am or not allowed to eat, which has gotten me into some trouble. But you to have something, and for them to not send me home on any kind of medication to also help control. And I'm not just saying like pain medication either, for any of you watching that thinks that might be what I'm talking about. I mean, even vitamins, even just, potassium or any of that stuff. Like, I wasn't given any kind of advice on what my body needs. This is all new to me. I'm going off what they say. So of course I'm starving at this point, and I decided to eat some leftover mashed potatoes, and the first thing that happens is pain. And I'm like, okay, well, this isn't good.
No. Now, that first time that you're in the ER, is that when they brought up the alcohol issues?
Yes. I'm glad that you brought that up.
I think that's a big thing, a big issue.
It is.
So explain what happened, the alcohol issue I'm talking about.
So I've never been a big drinker. I'm more of events, whether it be maybe a cookout or a holiday. But I was never a big drinker. So I was diagnosed with an acute pancreatitis with necrosis induced by alcohol. And I told them that alcohol didn't play a factor when my symptoms started. I had not been drinking, and they just didn't believe me. So that was the diagnosis. I kind of blew it off because I'm like, oh, this is just a hospital visit. Nothing's going to come of this. It's just going to be one of those things. Little did I know that would play a big part in every time I went to the hospital after that. Right. So
it kind of goes back to me harping like I have in the past about trying to find out what's in your charts and what's in your records, right? Not that Katie would have played hell getting that taken out right away, or documented that it may not be yet, but at the same time, having that knowledge in the back of your head when you go back to try to get help again. It could be very, very important, which we're going to probably find out again, because you ended up not too long going back to the hospital, right?
Right. So I was discharged at the end of November, just right after Thanksgiving. Made it through December okay. Made it through January of 2017 now okay, and then in February here comes another attack. I did not want to go back to the hospital, which none of us do. But I ended up going back, and again was diagnosed with acute pancreatitis, alcohol induced, and told them again that alcohol was not playing a factor. When these symptoms started, I wasn't drinking, so I didn't see how that was possible. Not being a chronic pain or a chronic illness patient at that time, I didn't realize how significant it was for me to actually fight and advocate for the fact that wasn't a factor. I just let them say whatever they wanted to say. I just wanted to get through and go home. And I did. I got through it. I went home, and bam, next month, March, back in the hospital. Again, diagnosed with alcohol-induced acute pancreatitis. At this point, the doctors are blowing me off because they think I'm doing this to myself. So they're not going to look into why this is actually happening. They already had their mind made up. And it just kind of left me like, well, I know that that's not the case, but this is going to go away. Attacks. Once it started, it didn't really stop. I got breaks in between going to the hospital and getting these attacks at first. And at one point I had went to the hospital, again, not tolerant to any kind of medication. I remember the pain medication made me itch really bad, and I'm sure a lot of us experience this as a side effect of any kind of narcotic, is it makes you itchy. And the doctor had seen where I was scratching, where I was itching, and blamed that on alcohol withdrawal. I never heard that was a symptom. It may be, I don't know. Again, didn't know the significance of it back then. I had tried to treat my flares at home. At that point, I was realizing I need to stop eating. That's going to fix it. I had asked my boyfriend at one time to go to the pharmacy and get some Tylenol and some Tylenol PM, because I'm like, if Tylenol is not going to help, then Tylenol PM will just help me sleep through it. No, you can't sleep through that. Back to the hospital I go. It finally got to the point where the GI that originally treated that first attack, as who I was falling with, said that there was nothing more he could do for me, and referred me out to IUH, which is Indianapolis University Hospital. Upon sitting in his office and getting that referral, he was actually going to refer me to Ohio State University. And as he's doing that referral with me in the office, he said, "Oh, I see you have 2 really good insurances. I'm actually going to send you to IUH because they have a better, more advanced GI team there." Looking back, I realize, wow, insurance does play a big part in how you get taken care of.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. We're told that the care is based on need, right? And we're going to do everything we can do to get you better. But my experience with that, when we were in Las Vegas on the streets with homeless folks, they would come out with
Okay.
I lost you.
Can you hear me
I
now?
can't hear Keith.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I had a spam call come in. Sorry about that. I had a call that I forgot to put my phone to do that stuff. So my point was, there is different levels of care on what your insurance is. Like the people in Vegas on the streets, they'd be sitting out with gauze wrapped around a leg and still bleeding because they didn't have insurance, but if you have Cadillac, they're going to take care of you. And you evidently, thank God you had Cadillac, right? So, because they got you there.
The doctors and nurses are gonna get paid no matter what. I get that the hospital itself may lose money on the whole insurance aspect, but those doctors and nurses are still gonna get paid. And you would think with that they would be a little bit more empathetic, but that's not the case, and they're probably trained for that not to be the case. But yeah, so I got referred out to IUH, where they do have a more advanced team there. The advanced GI that I had there tried several times to refer me to pain management because, again, at this time, once those flares started, they just didn't stop, and the breaks in between those pancreatitis flare-ups were getting far and few in between, and I was having trouble managing the pain through it, even not in a flare-up. Once you damage the pancreas, it does not heal. It is an organ that does not heal, so the damage is there, it's done, you live with it. And I refused. I didn't want to do pain management. I didn't want another doctor. I didn't know much about the stigma back then, but I knew a little bit about it. So I just didn't want to be involved in it. So I declined. He did his first ERCP, my advanced GI. ERCP, for those that don't know, is basically like an endoscopy. And the first and second ERCP that I did afterwards, once I came out of anesthesia, he said that my ducts were the worst that he'd seen. He'd never seen ducts quite like mine. So my issue was within my pancreatic ducts, not just with my pancreas itself. He had tried to back out of a duct that he was in and go in a different way. And as small as those wires and cameras are, he couldn't do it. So I've never gotten a complete, thorough examination because it was just that bad.
Let's go back. Hang on a second. Before, because we're talking about this, and the doctors initially in the ER said it was alcohol induced or possibly alcohol induced or cause. At what point? This is something that wasn't this in the email you talked about a possible birth defect.
Right. So I didn't even find out about it being a birth defect at those ERCPs. How I found that out is my pancreas started calcifying. And once it started calcifying, I lost control of my symptoms. And at that point, I accepted pain management. And I went to pain management. We came up with a regimen that worked for me. We talked about the pain pump. I did the trials. Upon getting approved for the pain pump, that very same appointment, he had called my medication into the pharmacy a floor down from his office. I was sitting there maybe 5 minutes waiting on the prescription to be filled. And he actually left his office, came down to the first floor to find me, to let me know that he had actually talked to the GI, in regards to placing the pain pump, and was told. So I'm getting this news from my pain doctor, not from the GI, not from the surgeon that said that I didn't need surgery at that time, that it was getting so bad that they were going to have to remove my pancreas, and that the pain pump would be in the way, and I have severe small ducts disease, which is a birth defect. So this is something I was born with, not something that alcohol created. And I'm still fighting to get that off my records, even though I have proof that it was a birth defect. There are still records that show that it was alcohol induced, which honestly, it's embarrassing. I don't know why they never explored that when I said that I wasn't drinking, but they didn't. They had their minds made up. It's one of the leading causes of pancreatitis. And I had already had my gallbladder removed, and they just, again, they had their minds made up. So getting that news from my pain doctor was...
Yeah, and it's kind of like, but they won't take it out because I sound like I'm beating up on all the docs. I'm not beating up on every doc, but it's like they don't want to admit they were wrong. They don't want to admit that, God forbid, they made a mistake. Mm-hmm. And they're doctors. They're in the medical field. They know the consequences, right? But it's the embarrassment of admitting that they may have misdiagnosed. So just my opinion.
No. No, you're right. Not even thinking of the embarrassment that they caused me, having other medical professionals believe that that's what was causing mine. I had to induce. Most of the time it was just from eating, which is why I told you earlier, Keith, I'll never take food for granted again because I've skipped way too many meals. But yeah, so I got that news from my pain doctor, that let me know that that's what he just got off the phone with. That's what they were diagnosing me with. And they let it get so bad. And it was a birth defect. So I'm not saying that there was anything different that they could have done that would have prevented it, but it might have slowed it down a little bit if they would have just listened.
Right. So now that you're being informed by your pain doctor that your GI and the surgeons are going to cut on you, right, operate on you, how long, or what was it a quick process for them to get you in and do the surgery?
Oh, no. You have to be vetted for that. I went through hell being vetted. Oh, I don't know if I can say that on here. But I went through a lot being vetted for that surgery, and there were times that it was so hard that I wanted to give up and just not have it. And they told me that my pancreas is slowly killing me. And I thought, so is this vetting process. But I did it. I had to see a psychologist, a dietitian. I mean, the list goes on. And the goal was for them to get me as healthy as they could possibly get me, because the recovery for a total pancreectomy and islet cell transfer is very hard. So the healthier you are, the better chance that you have on a less hard recovery. I wasn't getting healthier. I was getting sick. And at this point, the hospital stays were just, it was all the time. And I got to the point where I stopped going to my local hospital and I started going out to IU. I don't know how many people are watching that knows anything about Indiana University Hospital, but they don't have an emergency room. So you actually have to go to another emergency room in order to be transferred to the university. But I started doing that, and I was receiving a little bit better care at that hospital. But it's a hell of a drive for me, especially when you don't feel good and you're in a lot of pain. So I went through being vetted. Once they realized I wasn't going to get healthier, they finally set a date. And this is actually something, Keith, that I didn't touch on before in the email, but just real quick, they set the date. A few days before that date, I came there with a flare up. And because I was in a flare up, they ended up admitting me, and they wanted me to stay until the new date the date that they set up, because they didn't want to set a new date. They're like, just stay here and we'll take care of you until surgery. Well, I have a family. I'm in a different state. I wanted the couple days of feeling better to come spend time with my family. Well, because of that, I had to go for a COVID test. And sure enough, I went for that COVID test and I tested positive. So we had to cancel that first initial date, and then we set a new date. So new date comes.
How long was it from when your pain doctor told you that the surgeon was going to cut you to when they actually finally got a date for you?
Just over a year.
A year. So you're still fighting all of the same symptoms, right? And you're doing your best to live your life, but your body, you're still sick. So things they're not getting any better, but it took a year for that to happen, right?
Right.
That's incredible.
That's a long time to go through flare-ups that weren't necessary for me to go through, and to just deal with all of it. It's not just physical aspects that you have to deal with. You also have to deal with the mental aspects, and not just with yourself, with the people around you as well that are watching you get sick and go downhill and feeling helpless.
Yeah.
So new date set, and I go have the surgery. I was supposed to be in there 3 weeks for recovery. And let me just tell anybody that's listening that's considered this surgery, there's probably more success stories than there are not success stories, but the recovery is very hard, and there's no way that I could have been discharged right away and done it at home. They give you an epidural for pain block, and somehow my epidural fell out right after surgery. So I didn't have that extra luxury of extra pain block. But we had a snowstorm coming. So this is January of 2022 that I finally had the surgery. End of January, we had a snowstorm coming. I was supposed to be there 3 weeks. 2 weeks into recovery there, I did not want to get stuck there longer, and was able to figure things out to where I could get discharged at 2 weeks rather than 3 weeks. So I was sent home, and the first night home, I cried. It was horrible. Oh, wait. this is important. Before I got discharged, as the nurse is going over the discharge paperwork with me, she's talking about all these vaccines that I now need. And I'm not a vaccine person. I don't do vaccines.
Yeah, listen to this part. This is important.
So I said, why? I don't do vaccines. I'm not a vaccine person. And she said, well, you are now because you don't have a spleen. And I said, wait, what happened to my spleen? Where's my spleen? And she said, well, it's pretty common for them to take a spleen with the pancreas. And that was never discussed with me prior to surgery, nor right after surgery. I did not know I did not have a spleen until I was being let go from there. So yeah, big news there. So here I'm now missing a gallbladder, a pancreas, and a spleen. And not part of the story, but also an emergency hysterectomy a month prior to all of this happening in 2016. So I'm half a human over here, guys, and I'm still functioning. So believe it or not, you can do it. I still have nurses that will tell me that there's no way that I can live without a pancreas, and those nurses are not right for my care team, because I'm living proof that while it is difficult, you actually can live without a pancreas. So I come home. I had the total pancreectomy and islet cell transfer. Again, for those that don't really know a lot about that, the islet cells basically are what controls your blood sugar. So they take you into surgery, they remove your pancreas, they harvest as many islet cells off of your pancreas as possible. They pull you back into the operating room the next day. They put you under, thank God. And they take a big needle with all these islet cells and they put that onto your liver. And the theory behind that is those islet cells will take and you will not come out of the surgery being a brittle diabetic. And I've heard so many people 8 years out post-op say that they're still not insulin dependent. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case for me. They never took from the get-go. So I've been a brittle diabetic since then, which has been a big part of my journey after the surgery. And it's been a game changer for me. Diabetes is so very common that we take for granted what that actually entails. But I go in the DKA so often that since surgery, other than right now where I've hit a milestone, I've been in the hospital 1 to 2 times a month with DKA. So it's bad. Diabetes is a lot worse than I ever thought it would be. And I do my insulin religiously. I don't miss a beat.
Yeah.
So,
because you know what the consequences if you don't. So
yeah,
it's
DKA.
Trying to do that. But to the folks that are here, that were here towards the beginning, do you understand now why I say the kid is a hero of mine? She goes to the ER and then they tell her it's because you had this pancreatitis because of alcohol use, and then they keep beating that into her head, and then it becomes a pancreatitis and they have to do surgery and they take her spleen with it. They don't bother telling her that, right? And then she ends up as a diabetic and is in the hospital about once a month, right? So it's the fact that you're still, and now that you're on TikTok screaming your story to anybody that'll hear, right? To let other people know that they're not alone. That's where you're my hero,
none of us are alone. We may not all have the same diagnosis, but we have the same ER experiences, the same gaslighting, the same doctor to the doctor hoping that somebody will hear us. It's in the diabetic training that I got prior to the surgery was very minimal. I didn't even know what DKA was. The first time I went into DKA, I was so sick, went to the hospital. They told me I was in DKA and I had to ask what that was. Now you would think that would have been explained to me that that's what can happen. and my body just doesn't respond to insulin the same that it would with a diabetic that's insulin dependent with a pancreas. I do insulin over and over and over again, and it just looks like I didn't do any at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And then fast forward, you just did 30 days without going to the hospital, right?
Right.
So,
That's been a milestone and tremendous for me, because the stress of going to the ER and getting an ER doctor that doesn't know much about the pancreas. And I say that because there are so many healthcare professionals that do not go through pancreas training, and that is such a huge organ that we take for granted, because I thought it was like the appendix. I'm like, oh, okay, it's just one of those things that's there that hurts when you need to take it out. I didn't know what I was in store for. I don't have the success story that I wanted.
and I just want to, before we go on to where you are now and what you're fighting with this pain doctor and everything with that, I want to touch kind of like, we were talking a bit in the live last night about how we grieve the old us and the things we used to do. And at one point, it just kind of came up casually how we take on a lot of responsibility for not how only it affects us, but it affects our family members and our loved ones and the ones we care about. And with your boyfriend, your partner, it's done some of that. And you had shared that he questioned why you felt the need to educate doctors, right? And you're not the only one that's had to do that, because I've had to educate doctors every time that, I'm sorry about the weird background noise. Maybe the bugs. As soon as it gets dark, the bugs will shut up. That's just how it is because I'm outside. I have to educate doctors on what Valerie has on her disease because nobody knows it. And it's tough to do because a lot of doctors they don't want to be educated. They want to know, they think they know everything. But it's tough on your family too, like you were trying to get across to me earlier. So anyway.
It is. They feel helpless. And, when somebody goes with you to the hospital all the time and they get aggravated because you get aggravated with the doctors because you're trying to educate them, you're trying to tell them what you've been through and what works and doesn't work. And sometimes even our own family members act like the healthcare professionals. They just don't want to hear it. They feel like they've been by your side the whole time, and they know all of it just like you do. It's just like you really still don't know all of it. And it's frustrating. And I've lost a lot of relationships since being sick. Because they don't understand. Sometimes those relationships fizzle out because you're not there for them like you used to be, and you just expect them to be there, and it's not the case. That's a whole different story. We won't get into that.
But exactly. So you're at home now. You're on insulin. I'm hoping you're getting the important nutrients that you need. But you're still dealing with pain, right?
Right. So once I had the surgeries, the IU advanced GI, the surgeon, with me still having all these issues, tell me that there's really nothing more that they can do for me. It's all about quality of life at this point. There's no more fixes. So I was still seeing the pain doctor out there for a little bit of time, up until here this last November. And it was just, again, too much of a drive for me. And I thought, man, I have such a really good relationship with my pain doctor. He's really got the best intentions for me. I can find that locally. Wish I would have jumped on TikTok a lot sooner than that, because I'm finding the hard way that that's not the case. I have had a great family doctor, what we would call a unicorn doctor, that has bridged me on medication while I seek a new pain doctor. I went in just a little over a month ago now to this new pain doctor And I'm sitting in the office waiting for her to walk in. And the first thing that she says when she walks in is that she wants to taper. So I was still seeing the pain doctor out there for a little bit of time, up until here this last November. And it was just, again, too much of a drive for me. And I thought, man, I have such a really good relationship with my pain doctor. He's really got the best intentions for me. I can find that locally. Wish I would have jumped on TikTok a lot sooner than that, because I'm finding the hard way that that's not the case. I have had a great family doctor, what we would call a unicorn doctor, that has bridged me on medication while I seek a new pain doctor. I went in just a little over a month ago now to this new pain doctor, and I'm sitting in the office waiting for her to walk in. And the first thing that she says when she walks in is that she wants to taper me down to half of the pain medication that I'm on now. I went into this appointment already planning on not to speak very much. I kind of just wanted to see what she had to say, what she had to offer, and give my time to process that. So I didn't really say anything. She mentioned about tapering down. And not even a couple minutes after she says that, she stops me and tells me that she does not have enough medical records on me, and that she would like a month to be able to obtain more records. Again, not speaking up, I wanted the process. And it took me a minute to walk out of that office and process that she literally just sent me out of there not having enough medical records to make any kind of prescriptions, but was already determined that she was going to taper me down. And that's
Huge. Huge red flag.
They don't have any medical reason to taper you down. It's just an automatic built-in response. When they see a new patient, you're too high. And I can guarantee you that I've lived that, because when I moved from Vegas and I was being managed properly to Texas, to my hometown here in Texas, the quack I was seeing, that was his first thing. Mm-hmm. You know, exactly. They usually say interventional pain, and that's exactly right. And the guy that I was seeing initially for the first few months, his shirt said Dr. Pena, pain management. Now, the last couple of months I saw him, Dr. Pena, interventional pain specialist is what he had sewn onto his shirts. But they do that, you know. So you're definitely not wrong.
Can I
definitely not wrong there. Yeah, go ahead, jump in.
It's just a recommendation, and I'm not a doctor or anybody. It's just from experience that I've learned to prepare yourself before you go to your appointments and know exactly what your expectations and what you want are. And if the doctor does not meet that need, don't accept a script from them, but move on to the next one, because it's going to be a trial and error kind of thing, unfortunately. But as long as you're not accepting scripts from multiple doctors, from what I understand, you shouldn't get flagged for doctor shopping. You're just interviewing doctors.
That's what I've been told too. If you go into interview and you don't like the vibe and they offer me a script, I would definitely say no. I'm not. No, thank you.
And I know that's hard. I know that's so hard when you're in so much pain and anything sounds like a miracle, but it's not. A miracle is getting what you know you need and not settling for less.
I guess I didn't know what expectations that I had, and that's why I already had planned on kind of going in with an open mind and not speaking up. I kind of wanted just to hear what she had to say beyond tapering me down. She had asked about if I've ever tried the fentanyl patches, which I've had a couple times. She said that she had never seen where those had been prescribed to me. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm not lying. I have no reason to lie. But again, I kept quiet. And then we talked about the pain pump. Shortly after healing some from my surgery, and I was still with my IUH pain doctor, I'm the one that brought up moving forward with a pain pump because that's where we were at before surgery happened. And I was interested in that because, hey, one less pill I have to swallow is fine by me. And I had told her exactly what the IUH doctor had said, that I had lost too much body. And it wasn't about weight. I was about 135, 145 going into all this. And then prior to surgery, coming out of surgery and going back to pain management and discussing the pain pump, I was 71 pounds. So I had lost a lot of weight, and no matter how hard I try, I'm having issues with that. And he had told me that it wasn't about a number. He couldn't give me a specific number that I needed to reach. It was about body mass, and that he could not say that he could successfully place that pain pump and it be successful with the body mass that I had. And that gave me a goal to work towards. And I'm still working towards it. But when she mentioned the pain pump, and I had told her what my IUH pain doctor had said, she completely blew it off, rolled her eyes, and said, "We can still put it in. It's just going to stick out." Now, to me, that doesn't sound comfortable, and I'm not trying to trade one pain for another pain. I don't want you to get rid of my abdominal pain just so that I can feel pain wherever this pump is, because I do have a life. I have dogs. I have stuff that I want to do. I don't want to keep bumping this thing or getting pulled on or scratched at or whatever and have a whole new set of problems. And that is the one thing that I did speak up on, is the pain pump. She told me that her particular pain management office has a relationship with the IUH pain office, and she name dropped one of the other providers in that IUH pain clinic, not my provider, but one of the other names I recognized. And I thought, wow, if you have a relationship with them and you're willing to name drop, then you kind of should maybe respect a little bit more about what they're saying, because they're obviously somebody you feel comfortable on having a relationship with. So why aren't you comfortable with the regimen that they put me on that I'm saying works enough for my baseline pain? It doesn't take away everything, but it gives me enough that I can function when I'm not sick and not in DKA. I can do dishes, I can do laundry, I can play with my dogs. And I have my follow-up appointment next week, and I do plan on speaking up. I've gotten some really sound advice on how to handle the conversation, but one of the things that Chronically Divine had mentioned, and I hope she doesn't mind me name dropping her, is that I need to tell her the document. The fact that she was able to come up with a decision to taper me down, but wasn't able to come up with a decision to send me out with a prescription based on not having enough medical records.
These are just huge red flags.
It's just
Everything
red
that you
flag.
guys are hearing are huge red flags, and it's not to make you feel bad about not knowing, because I've been through this too, and in many ways. So I know what it feels like to not know that it's not right to be treated this way, or that you don't know what to expect. It kind of takes you by surprise sometimes.
And
But
for
I'm
me,
sure
it was.
you've learned through this too how to better advocate for yourself as well, right?
That's the thing, though. I am starting to see, and I wish I would have seen this a while back, but now that my eyes are a little bit more open, if I advocate for myself, then I'm being combative or I'm just seeking. But if somebody advocates for me, they're heard more than I am. I'm the one walking in these shoes. I'm the one that has to wake up like this every day. So why are you going to take somebody else's word that, yes, may see me every day and see what I go through over my very own?
Yeah.
There's no answer to that. I really can't give you an answer to that, Candy, because it doesn't make sense. Because it's wrong, but you're damn straight. It happens, Because I say a lot, and I firmly believe some doctors hate an educated patient.
It's true. It's true.
Because
There are doctors because my doctor did not like it when I walked in. I mean, my old doctor did not like it, and that was a red flag. That he didn't like that I came prepared to my appointment was a big red flag.
Yeah, it's it's like they feel you're challenging them, and you can't challenge them. So but you got to defend yourself. And when I was looking for this current doc I have, I approached it. I know how crappy I have it now, and it can't get any worse, right? And that's just how I had to approach it, because I'm going to stick with the crap until I get something good. And thank God they dropped in my lap.
Yeah,
they really
it's really hard to find those doctors, Keith. I'm so happy that you found one. I actually, and this wasn't part of the email, but just to show you where I was at, back in February, I was actually enrolled into hospice. And it was great having them come out and them manage all my medications and not having that worry. But I went into DKA. I was advised by hospice, because hospice, for those of you that don't know or considering hospice that struggle with DKA, don't even waste your time, because they do not manage diabetes. They do not manage insulin. They will not put you on an insulin drip. So I went to DKA. They told me to go to the ER. They have to unenroll you from hospice when you're in the ER, because insurance will not pay for both services. So I get discharged, I come home, I have the nurse come out to re-enroll me. She lets me know that they're not going to re-enroll me because in the month that I was with them, I wasn't showing a decline in health. And I'm like, really? Because I literally just got discharged from the hospital. So how is my health not declining a factor in this? And basically off the record, because that's what they put on the record, she let me know that every time I go to the ER, they don't get paid. So they're basically losing money on me. And because of not having a pancreas and being a brittle diabetic, I'm going to be dealing with DKA for the rest of my life. So it's just not suited for them to basically take on a patient struggling with DKA. So I thought I was finally like, hey, I'm in hospice. No, it's not end of life. Yes, I can graduate from hospice, but I'll have just one provider taking care of everything. I can stay at home. If I do need to go in, they have their own facility, which I did visit one time. But yeah, I was actually unenrolled from hospice because they were losing money on me.
A question for you: have you tried to see if palliative care was available in your area?
They came out to my house on a really, really bad day. I was super sick. I don't even remember that day, but my boyfriend does, and he said they were here about a whole 10 minutes before they said they couldn't help me and left. I just think that the nurse seen how bad a shape I was in, or that I wasn't functioning properly, and just didn't want anything to do with it. And I have not explored it since then because of what hospice did and the fact that I had a full 10 minutes of the palliative care's nurses before she walked out of my house.
Well, they probably saw you as needing to go to hospice instead because of the condition you're in. It's just what I would guess. But typically, saw somebody ask, my understanding of palliative care is it's It's like the meat in a sandwich between like constant doctor care or occasional doctor care and hospice. It's like a stabilizing care is the
Right.
idea behind it. And a lot of pain patients, not a lot, some pain patients can get on palliative care, and it's a lot easier on the patient because they're a lot more receptive to writing pain meds than what a traditional pain doctor, and a hell of a lot more receptive than a pain interventionist would be, as well, and some PCPs. Have you talked to? I'm guessing your doctor doesn't want to take on any of your pain care. Your PCP probably doesn't want to take on pain care as well, right?
She's been bridging me since November, but she let me know, not this last appointment, because it's weekly meds. It's not even monthly. I have to go see her weekly. That their rules are becoming stricter, and she's like, I know, I'm not supposed to speak of this, but she said it's getting ridiculous to the point where I want to leave. She said, tell me why I had to do a urine test on an 89-year-old woman that takes half a milligram. And then she name dropped the pain med, which I don't remember what it was. And she said it's absolutely ridiculous. The lady takes 1/2 milligram a night, and she's 89 years old. And if you have a balance and you owe money, you either have to go ahead and get that paid, or we're not going to see you anymore. And I looked at her and I'm like, okay, wherever you go, I'm going to track you down, because she is a unicorn doctor. But she's been great managing my medication, but also letting me know at the same time that I need to move forward.
So yeah, if she's going to be willing to help bridge it for the time being, that's when I'm going back begging for other referrals. I know certain states right now are really, really tough. Ohio can be very tough. Massachusetts can be very tough. Texas can be, where you're at in Texas can be next to impossible too. But y'all, I found one.
Me too.
And it wasn't because I'm good. It wasn't because I'm something special. It was just because my current pain doctor was killing me. I was dying. I was becoming a shell, and I wasn't going to let him win. That's how I just had to get it in my head. I'm not letting this person win.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to suffer under him until I find something. Yeah. And if it wasn't going to be another pain doctor, I was going to find ways to do it myself. And thank God he dropped this new guy in front of me. I'm not trying to come down, Candy. Please don't think that I'm yelling or anything or telling you.
Not at all.
Because I'm not. I'm just speaking out of love and care for you. You've been through so much trauma, and you've been through so much ungodly miscare, and I just want the best for you. I couldn't imagine going from 120 down to 70 pounds, 72 pounds.
I was between 135 and 145, which was the biggest I've ever been in my life. I finally have gotten to that point in my life where I looked pretty healthy. But yeah, down to 71 pounds, and I have struggled. It's been 2.5 years since I've had the surgery. And I just now hit like 93 pounds. I've hit that before, but I always slide backwards down to the mid 80s. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen this time. But I do have, not having a pancreas, spleen, and gallbladder, I do have malabsorption. So it's easier for me to lose weight than it is for me to gain weight.
Obviously.
Have you looked on TikTok? I'm just curious because I did the other night. I went down the rabbit hole of the thinking about the pain pump again. And I hadn't done much research or looked at videos or anything like that of people with them. Have you done any of that yet?
Went down the rabbit hole?
Yeah.
Pain pumps?
On the pain pump?
Not on pain pumps. I'm going to say I went down the rabbit hole, and that's how I found y'all. Which I'm grateful for, but I did some research when the IUH pain doctor and I had first started talking about pain pumps. Mm-hmm. And to me, what was being offered it did work for me. I went through one trial that didn't work. I was honest with him. He upped the dosage. I did that. It worked. And like I said, that very same day that it worked and I got approved for it, he just said, wait for scheduling to call you to place it, is the day that he came and let me know I was having my pancreas removed.
All right, so I'll be the bad guy, okay? I'll be the bad guy. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not offering medical advice. I'm going to state that. A concern that happens to some patients who have those installed is something happens to their doctor, or they have to move geographically 500 miles away, and they have a problem finding other doctors that will provide the medicine for the pump.
I've seen that with the spinal cord stimulators where they fail and they cannot find anybody to take them out. And that's not my biggest concern with the pain pump is having somebody maintain it. Is yes, it's the device itself. And Dr. Curiosity, I believe is his name. I don't know if any of you all follow him, but he's actually, I believe, a unicorn doctor, but he's here on TikTok, and he was talking about how fragile the catheter basically is and how easily they break. And I'm over here with a 100-pound Great Dane puppy that doesn't realize his size and he thinks he's a lap dog. So 9 times out of 10, when he wants to snuggle, I usually end up with a bruise. So I can't imagine having a device that sticks out that already has, a fragile aspect to it. And that becoming an issue. My body's been through too much. I'm not going to keep going through procedures on stuff that I know is not going to be successful.
Yeah. And it's okay to say no. I mean, I'm at that point too, where nobody is going to touch my spine again, especially now that they can't get these stimulators out. Never again. Nobody's touching it unless I am hunched over and cannot walk anymore. Like, it will take a lot for me to go under the knife again.
So, but at the same time, I think about everybody that's here. If it works for you, damn it, I'm happy for you.
Yeah, no,
I'm
absolutely.
ecstatic. I want people to find what works for them, and be better. Right? That's the goal, is to be better. I don't think any of us are ever going to be healed, and we're working all after last night. We're all working on accepting that, but at the same time. Just be careful. Is research. Because I don't think it's just your puppy you have to worry about. I think it's bumping into the kitchen counter when you're doing dishes, or it's life. And
that's why I asked if she had looked on TikTok or anything to see what it looks like on a smaller person. Because I did not realize how large it was, and like I'm in the same situation. I couldn't have that, even though I'm a bigger girl. I'll run into things. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lady on here that I follow, and she's probably between the size of you and I, Amanda, and she recently got the pain pump. And I watched a video where they couldn't refill it, and when she showed, and I thought they go in the front, but she showed from the back, and hers stuck out just a little bit, not as much as it probably stuck out on me, but they couldn't even fill it. She had to go get x-rays and all kinds of stuff.
That's wild.
So,
because I've seen other people where it looks like you literally have a big boob on your stomach, like on the
I guess
side.
it just depends on the procedure and on the doctor. So, all right. So Amanda and I have asked a ton of questions. Candy probably needs something to drink the vocal cords because she's been awesome and filling us in. If anybody has any questions, definitely start throwing them in the bottom in the comments down there, so we can get them answered. Candy's story is incredible, and just like Tammy's was last week, right? A lot of us are blessed that we haven't had that type of trauma, or haven't had to go through that many procedures, but it doesn't mean that we're not facing the same things.
Right.
Like recently, her pain doctor, I'm going to take you down to F because that's what I do. Well, why? Well, that's what I do. Well, why do you do that? Because that's what I do. So you don't.
But
do
we love
anything-
what you do.
Yeah, yeah. You don't do anything based on facts. Well, that's what I do. Okay, we understand. Or perhaps doctors, when they're practicing medicine, they need to practice harder or practice more often because they're not getting it right.
Right.
And it's again like Katie and I've been saying, and even Amanda, it's not the diagnosis that we share. It's the horror stories and the trauma and the guilt and the grieving that we all share. I saw Tammy and she had talked about making her anniversary of not going to the hospital, and I was like, holy crap. That's 30 days.
Wow. Yeah.
As a celebration, and we got to find out what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, Shane, we just want to be heard,
Yeah.
and that's why I beg you guys to keep hitting those heart buttons and to share stuff and to post on your own page. Because if I run across it, I'm sharing it, or I'm putting it in my story, or I'm doing both. So everybody's stories get out. Message me. I'm always looking for people to come on and share.
One day I'll be brave enough.
We're going to be the one this week. I'll tell you about that later. I want to do this because we all share the same stuff, and I want sensualize everything patient. I mean, this app. That's it. Thank you, Shannon. We're not alone in this fight. We can't let the situation think it's going to win all the time, and we have to know that we've got other people out there that love us and support us. And if you're not if you don't follow me, and I'll follow everybody back. Even though right now I'm getting a whole lot of spam likes, and I don't trust some of the ladies that are sending me invites. I don't think they really like me. Okay. I've been getting guys who want to be my sugar daddy.
Ooh, me too.
I get those.
One,
I'm thinking about it.
Right? Shoot.
SSI doesn't pay a whole lot.
Right?
No, it sure doesn't.
The daddy over here.
But I follow you back. Message me. There's one person in this live that I have messages from but I have not responded to yet, and it's nothing personal. It's just my meds themselves have been going up and down. I'm here. Candy knows that. She knows that.
Absolutely. I wish I would have spoke up a long time ago. It was Chronically Divine that I initially reached out to and kind of shared my story with, and she kind of helped me get the ball rolling. And I'm like, wow, I wish I would have done this a long time ago, because I listen. I watch the stories and I listen, and I'm like, wow, that sounds awful. It sounds like they're going way through or more through than I've been through. But there's always a story that's not being heard, or somebody sitting there not wanting to talk, and the guilt that we live with on a daily basis because we're grieving the old us. It's horrible. I live with guilt every single day. I push myself to do stuff I know I shouldn't be doing because I don't want to feel guilty for not doing it.
Yeah. And we're all there.
Yeah.
We all live that. And, it's I don't know. We talked about it a lot last night. And, man, they're missing themselves. That's the hard part, So, yeah. So, Amanda, you have something?
I would like to do a live sometime on maybe talking about how I sit down with my doctor and like what I have prepared, Do you think that would be a good idea? I don't know.
I think it would be. I did a live on I don't think I told anybody. I think I just went live and people
Yeah,
showed
I did
up.
that today too.
And where I went into, and I kind of did it when I did the Dr. Mike book review, but that was like spur of the moment too.
Yeah, I missed that one.
Because I took Dr. Mike's advice on a lot of areas, but not everywhere.
Right.
But yeah, I think I'd love to. And I'm going to say it again, even though everybody tells me to stop saying it. I'm not gloating that I've found this doctor. I am far from gloating that I've found this doctor. I just hope I can keep people motivated to keep searching for the doctor.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
I don't feel like you're gloating. I just feel like you're letting us know that they're out there, and it gives us hope that we can find that too. We have to keep looking.
Yeah. And, you know, it sucks. It is painful. It takes forever, you know, but at the same time, what do we have to lose?
Right.
For getting crapped on by somebody. Well, maybe this person will crap on me a little less, right? But there is a delicate balance between telling the current one that's crapping on you that, hey, I'm leaving you, without having the less crapper person yet in your life. And I totally understand that. I definitely understand that. And how do you guys use ring lights? This thing is blinding me. And I don't like it. I'm going to throw it in the woods.
Don't do that. Just send it to me.
It's driving me nuts. This is what I get for spending $14.70 at Walmart. Let me tell you.
I did that my first time too.
You know, I mean, I can change colors. How's that? I can
That's
go.
better.
Look at all this. Look at disco.
Yeah,
Disco.
I like the disco.
Ooh, I need to be like. Good thing I'm not microdosing tonight, because that would be a really problem.
No matter which one you do, I can still see you. So whatever's comfortable for you, I think is what's important.
Yeah, the other night, because it was dark, I had mine on purple because it was the easiest one I could look at.
Something I can live with. Hang on, I'm pushing buttons. God, see, that's obnoxious. But anyway,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I like what It's Just Me said, though. It's okay to be happy. We get so few wins. And that's like what I'm trying to realize, too, with finding my unicorn doctor. Because I'm stuck in this place of living in fear of losing him. And this triumphant joy of having him right now. You know? And it's great. I'm so glad I found him. But I think a lot of the reason why it's worked with this doctor in particular is because of how I present myself now versus how I presented myself before. And that's completely different.
That's why I went into this new pain management appointment with an open mind and plan on not speaking, is because I wanted to see what she could present me with. I'm the one that went to the IUH pain doctor and said, let's move forward with the pain pump. That was me asking for that. So it's not that I don't want to make changes. I just want whatever changes that are being made to work for me. And what she offered, I know is not going to work for me. And I plan on fully speaking up next week when I go to that appointment, because like you guys said, what do we have to lose? I've been through the worst of it. I've been through the surgeries and the recoveries. The worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to get cut off. I'm going to go through some withdrawal, and then I'm going to move on and have to figure out how to deal with my pain. That's the worst that's going to happen. The best that's going to happen is she's going to offer a regimen that's going to work for me, and my baseline that I live with, which is between a 4 and 5 out of 10 every day, it might go down lower. And maybe instead of just getting to see my grandson when I can see him, maybe I can plan on getting my grandson and make those plans and be able to stick with them. But I feel like a lot of us have been through the worst of it. It's just about finding that quality of life so that we can function.
Yeah.
I think that's it. You know, just don't give up, folks. Those doctors are out there.
Yeah.
And if it's bad, just keep going.
And
Don't
reach
let,
out.
don't
Please
let
reach
that bad doctor win.
Yeah.
I would go to my grave before this freaking quack here in Granbury, Texas, Dr. Pena, abused me anymore.
Yeah.
Because that's how bad he was.
Mm-hmm.
And and it kills me that so many of us are in that same boat. And it's nothing that we've done. Our illness isn't our fault. Our mental health issues aren't our fault. Our pain issues, our body that's causing us pain isn't our fault.
Right.
Your doctor doesn't have to be a quack or look at you as a dollar sign versus a human being. And the name I call this invisible no more. It's because we can't be invisible anymore. If anything, for me, getting on TikTok or wherever and screaming about this, it may not win me anything, but I tell you what, I feel a lot better about it. And if I can let one person know that they're not alone in this battle, I follow great people. I follow Amanda. I follow Scissortail. I follow Divine. I follow Jacob. I follow all of these incredible people that give me hope. If you ever if you're ever down and just can't shake anything, go search for See Their Light and watch her when she's dancing. Mm-hmm. Even though she's in incredible pain, if you look at her face, you see joy. I do that almost every single day. I'll go to her page just to see a smile because she's that infectious. If you need somebody if you need help in getting lines to tell a doctor off, go to Chronically Divine and write down when she's tearing somebody apart, right? Because she has them. Or if you want to do it with I call it the sweet tea version, where it's so sweet it's sickening. They're getting murdered. Go to Scissortail because she'll do it sweet tea way, right? I'm
a kill him with kindness kind of girl.
Yeah, so is Amanda. Find these folks, y'all. This is your support. These are the people that are here for you. Don't be afraid to reach out. If you need to have somebody to vent to, you need to have that person. And if you don't want to dump on your partner or your spouse or your friends, message me. I can't tell you how many times I give out my phone number out.
I tell you, my husband is so thankful for y'all. My husband is so thankful for y'all for taking me on and supporting me and loving me and treating me with kindness and respect. He doesn't have to listen to me bitch about everything anymore. Not that I don't tell him every once in a while, but he's not my main source because he doesn't understand. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard to vent to somebody who just doesn't understand.
They're going to love us to death, but when I was I had an incredible victory yesterday, and it included getting one more pill per day.
Yeah.
And I was telling Valerie about it. It's I love you, and you know my history, you know my story. I said, but you don't know what it's like for me to know I have that extra help.
Right.
And she's like, you're right. Mm-hmm. But
it's made a difference for me within the last week or two. Reaching out to Chronically Divine and then her passing my story on to Mike MSW. I again wish that I would have done this a long time ago because I have got to vent. I have got to share my story, and especially tonight. And while maybe you guys don't walk in the same shoes that I walk in, you guys are still walking in some shoes that I might have seen. So it makes a world of difference just to have somebody that can listen and that you're not being judged.
Yeah. And it's all the difference in the world, and I tell people, when I'm reaching out to people to vent or to verbally vomit, I'm not looking for answers. I'm not looking for them to say, well, you need to go tell your doctor. No, I just need to get this poison out of my system. And it takes somebody who's invisible that understands it, and gets it. But that's why Amanda does these lives. That's why I do these lives, and why others do these lives, is to create a community where 30 some odd people right now can take that mask off, right? And just be themselves and know it's okay. You know, they're not going to get challenged in any way. At least not of mine and Amanda's. We'll boot them out. I don't have any problem with that. I'll sleep well, you know. I love my friends. So. All
I
right.
think
Well,
chromosome cryptids, you had it right the first time. He is lucky that he has me. He's like, I said that wrong. She's lucky. And you're right. I am. I am absolutely blessed to have a husband that understands to a degree and that is supportive and has stayed with me, especially through the bullshit that I put him through. Oh my gosh. So,
You find out who your ride and dies are when you go through a journey like this. That is for sure.
yeah, we've been married 12 years, so he is my ride or die no matter what.
all right. Candy, you got anything else you want to, any other parting wisdom for us?
No, I think the only thing that I didn't really touch on is this isn't just about pain management for me for quality of life. The original GI that referred me out to IUH, I went back to them to kind of get reestablished with them. We discussed infusions because I have malabsorption. I don't absorb things properly, so I'm constantly low on like iron, magnesium, potassium, sodium, as well as the DKA factor, and kind of needing clear fluids to avoid that hospital stay. I went to them a little over a month ago. We agreed on the infusions. I set up home health care. I already have a port. I've been waiting weeks. I have not gotten a call back. I left a message for the office manager last week. All of a sudden, Option Care, which is a specialty pharmacy, calls me to let me know they have some iron to deliver to me. No callback. I don't even know if I need the iron. No supplies ordered for the port access. So I'm moving on with a different GI, but it's not just about pain management and the chronic illness and chronic pain community. I consider myself a chronic pain patient, but I'm also seeking other avenues as well to establish that quality of life, because just those few things that I run low on can make me feel like crap. So just even little baby steps that we have to take in order to ensure our quality of life, we have to keep fighting for it, whether it's calling your doctor or calling the manager or just finding a new doctor. Just don't give up. Like, we are all there. We are all fighting for that quality of life. And I appreciate you guys and letting me come on here and share my story. I know I'm going to sleep good tonight.
Yeah.
Amanda, any parting words from wisdom? Because you're the intelligent. Well, you and Candy both are the intelligent one here. So,
I'm really thankful to be able to have been able to join tonight, and thank you for sharing your story with us. It's relatable in so many ways, and I think you're going to find that in the community and the support that you're going to find throughout all of us. Like you guys have mentioned, we may not have the same diagnoses or all be living in pain or whatnot, but a lot of us have been through really rough situations, really traumatic situations.
I guess for me, I want to say thank you to Amanda and thank you for Candy for opening up and being honest. And it's can be difficult. It's raw,
It is raw.
Even y'all, I'll tell anybody that's here tonight that wants to share like Candy does. There will be times where you're going back thinking about all the stuff you've gone through, and you need to be ready for it because it can be a little triggering.
Yes.
Because it can bring up some things that were bad. But at the same time, when you come on and you share, it's I learned in a really terrible way that you're not. It's not just you that's carrying it anymore. Mm-hmm. Some of the weight will come off your shoulders. Mm-hmm. You may not feel it right away, but over time you will. And anytime we share our stories, I honestly feel that's an opportunity for somebody to find us and to know they're not alone. And as it sucks, at least they know that we've helped one other person. And if me doing a live can do this, I'll do it whatever I have to do it. Let somebody know that they're cared about. I want everybody to know you're seen, you're heard, you're loved, and you're supported. So thank you very much.
Nope, Keith's getting a call.
Oh.
Spam phone call. Yeah. So I promise next time I'll remember to put it on Do Not Disturb. I was in a hurry tonight. But yeah, we'll be back here next Thursday for sure. The next Thursday one, the lady that's going to talk, her husband has traumatic brain injuries, and she's fought cancer, and she has other diagnoses. And and as tragic as it is, again, just like with Candy tonight, and just like with Tammy last week, right? None of us have really had a whole lot of open heart surgeries like Tammy did, but we all found stuff in that story that we understood and walked away knowing different levels about ourselves and about other people. So that's what I got tonight. I'm gone. I don't think I'm gonna. I don't know. I might go live later this week, but nothing special. Just be late at night, like 10 o'clock at night when I can't sleep. So if you have any questions, y'all send me a message. If you need to vent, send me a message. If you just need to scream, send me a message. I love you guys. Thank you for coming out tonight. And please.
Thanks, guys.
I hope tomorrow's a little bit
Thank
better.
you. Love you.
See you guys. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
If I only had a brain.